Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Hello everyone. Good evening. Introduce myself. My name is Dinda Syariatul Islamiyah. I am student 6th semester from English Education Language Program at University of Muhammadiyah Bulgaria. Okay. In this video presentation, I will talk about gricean maxim and their relationship to humor. Specifically, I will try to answer the question, why do people laugh at certain events in comedy movies or stand-up comedy? Let's start it. Here, the outline of presentation today. I will cover 5 main parts. The first is, what are gricean maxims? Number 2 is, what is humor? Number 3, how maxim create humor? And number 4, I will show some example from comedy. And finally, I will wrap it up with a conclusion. Okay, what are gricean maxims? So, what exactly are gricean maxims? Gricean maxims are a set of principles introduced by a British philosopher or language named Herbert Paul Grice. In his famous 1975 paper titled Logic and Conversation, Grice argued that when we talk to each other, we don't just exchange random words. We cooperative. He called this the cooperative principle. The idea is simple. When you are having a conversation, you are expected to make your contribution appropriate to the purpose of their conversation. Okay. Based on these principles, Grice defined 4 maxims, 4 unspoken rules that guide how to communicate effectively. There are the maxim of quantity, the maxim of quality, and the maxim of relationship, and the maxim of manner. Think of this maxim like a social contract of communication. Most of the time, we follow them without even realizing it. But what happens when we break them? That's where things get interesting and fun. Let me explain each maxim in more detail. The first is the maxim of quantity. This says, give enough information, not too much, not too little. If someone asks, where do you live? A cooperative answer is, I live in Bogor, not a 5 minutes lecture about Indonesian geography. Okay, the second is maxim quality. This say, only say things you believe to be true and only say things you have evidence for. In other words, don't lie and don't guess without basis. And the third is the maxim of relationship. This is about relevance. Your contribution should be related to the topic being discussed. If someone asks, did you eat yet? And you answer, the sky is blue, that's clearly irrelevant, unless you are trying to be funny. And the fourth is the maxim of manner. This says, be clear, avoid ambiguity, be brief, and be organized. Don't make things unnecessarily complicated. Okay, now these maxims are not strict grammar rules. They are conversational norms. And the most interesting thing in pragmatic is what happens when a speaker intentionally breaks one of these norms. Okay, before we connect maxim to humor, let's first define what humor is. Humor is a communicative act. Humor is a communicative act that triggers amusement of loud, according to linguistics and psychologists. And humor works by creating incongruity, a mismatch between what we expect and what actually happens. Okay, in language, humor often comes from how something is said. The word choice, the timing, the implied meaning. This is why humor is such a rich topic in pragmatics, because it's all about what it means beyond what is literally said. There are several types of humor, verbal humor like puns and sarcasm, situational humor for funny events, character-based humor from ridiculous personalities, and dark or ironic humor. Today, we'll focus mostly on verbal humor because it connects directly to gricean maxim. Okay, the next. So here the key question: how exactly do gricean maxim create humor? The answer lies in what Grice called floating a maxim. Floating means deliberately and oftenly breaking a maxim, not to deceive but to imply something more. The speaker expects the listener to notice the violation and figure out the real meaning. This process of working out the implied meaning is called conversation implicator, and it's the engine behind most verbal humor. There are four main ways maxim relate to humor. Number one is floating. Floating is breaking a maxim to create a humorous implicator. Number two is pirouetting. Pirouetting is breaking into pieces which creates funny punches. Number three is exploiting. Exploiting is using the tension of maxim creatively for wit, and the last one is opting out, reversing to cooperative, which creates absurd or awkward comedy. Okay, the next is the moment the audience recognizes the maxim violation and decode the real meaning. That's the moment of laughter. Let's look at our first example, the maxim of quantity being floated. This is a classic stand-up comedy joke. Patient, doctor, it's hard when I do this. The doctor said, then don't do that. What is funny? What is this funny? Let's analyze it. The patient expects a doctor to give a full informative medical response. That's what the maxim of quantity requires. But the doctor gives the minimum possible answer. Almost nothing. He gives a far less information that the situation requires. This is violation creates a comic incongruity. The absurdity of the unhelpfully short response is exactly what makes us laugh. We laugh because we instantly recognize that something is wrong with this conversation. The doctor is being cooperative on the surface but completely unhelpful in substances. Okay, the second example involves the maxim of quality, specifically sarcasm and irony. Imagine this scene is a comedy movie. The character trips on banana peel and falls flat on their face. Their friend watch and say, "Oh yeah, that's went really well." Obsessively, it did not go well. The friend is saying something they clearly to be false. That's a violation of the maxim of quality. But the audience immediately understands this is sarcasm. The speaker means the exact opposite of what they said. Chris called this a conversation implicator created by floating quality. The humor comes from the gap between the literal meaning and the real meaning. We laugh because we catch the irony. The more dramatic the fall, the funnier the deep fan sarcastic comment viewer becomes. Now, let's look at the maxim of relationship relevance. Here's a classic joke. Why did Scarecrow win an award? Because he was outstanding in his file. Okay, at first, the answer seemed to violate the maxim of relation talking about being in a file seemed irrelevant to winning an award. But then we realized our outstanding in his file has two meanings. Literally, number one is a scarecrow standing in a file. Figuratively, being exceptionally good at what you do. This is fun. Funds work by exploiting the maxim of relationship. The apparent irrelevance forces the listener to search for a second interpretation. The moment you find it, the aha moment, in the exact moment of laughter. Okay, in stand-up comedy and sitcoms, this technique is used constantly. Writers script dialogue that seem irrelevant until the public's punchlines snap it into place. Okay, our last example is the maxim of manner, and this one is about being absurdly complicated. For example, imagine someone asks, "How do you get to the airport?" Okay, imagine someone asks, "How do you get to the airport?" Airport, and the response is something like, "Well, first, you must answer your extensive procedures, your departure from the domicile." Okay, our last example is the maxim of manner, and this one is about being absurdly complicated. Imagine someone asks, "How do you get to the airport?" And the response is something like, "Well, first, you must answer your existence procedures, your departure from the domicile." Balancing in the direction of the destination transit hope via applicable locomotion method. This is hilariously overcomplicated. The maxim of manner says, "Be brief and clear," but the speaker is doing to the exact opposite. And this type of humor is common character comedy. Being pompous professors, overly formal bureaucrats, or socially awkward character. The humor comes from the mismatch between the significance of the question and the complexity of the answer. And so to summarize, here how is maxim connect to comedy? When quantity is floated, we get deadpan or anti-humor. Too little or too much information. When quantity is floated, we get sarcasm and irony, saying the opposite of what's true. And when relations is floated, we get puns and wordplay, apparent irrelevance hiding a double meaning. And when manner is floated, we get absurdist or character comedy, confusion, overly complicated response. In all four cases, the audience has to actively decode the real meaning, and that cognitive work, that moment of getting it was triggered laughter. Gricean maxim is this: humor is not random. It follows predictable linguistic patterns. Comedy works by deliberately plotting the cooperative maxim, breaking the unspoken rules of the conversation in ways that are obvious to the audience. When a maxim is floated, the audience recognizes the evaluation. They search for the implicit meaning, the implicator, and when they find it, when everything clicks, that resolution of it contributes louder. Whether it's a different jokes, a sarcastic comment, a clever pun, or an absurd over-explanation, all is my presentation of great maxim and humor. I hope this video helps explain why laughter is not just an emotional reaction. It is a linguistic and pragmatic event. Okay, thank you so much for watching, and see you next time. Bye bye.